What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Got a nice little competitive duel for you guys to check out. We obviously have a high tier meta deck in Thunder Dragons at the top. A lot of people consider it to be a top 5 deck in the format, myself included. And then we got a really powerful rogue deck that has a pretty good matchup against Thunder Dragons. We got Paleo Frogs, and we know how strong Paleo Frogs can be, especially if it starts front running. It gets the Totally Awesome on board, man. Totally Awesome. People forget that that card is still limited to 1 in the OCG because it is still one of the best boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just, you really can't summon it outside of like, 1 or 2 decks. So it's not a card you generally see all that often. Totally Awesome, or excuse me, Paleos are going to go second, unfortunately. So he is going to have to wait, and he's going to have to deal with one hell of a field. But luckily, this is actually a pretty good matchup for Paleo in general. Thunder Dragon do kind of they struggle with these decks that play a whole lot of traps because the trap cards are very effective against Thunder Dragon Colossus. Usually they're not used to that, but you can see that if he had, I would say that if he was facing against like Sky Strikers, this would probably be a free game. I mean, double copies of Colossus plus a copy of Titan. I just don't really see a way of being able to get around that unless you have, I don't know, man, you'd have to open with like double Widow Anchor plus something else to be able to just completely out this. But outside of that, if you're playing Trickstar or if you're playing Sky Striker, if you're playing, a Dark Warrior deck, it's going to be pretty damn difficult because if they pop your Isoda, they wait for Summon Sorceress, and then they just pop it with the Thunder Dragon Titan, okay, well, you're not having a very fun time at that point. Anyways, Paleo not really affected because he doesn't actually do any searching, and you can see that he has Mirror Force in his hand, the Stormy Mirror Force, so you know that there's one on the field, and that just means this dude's about to get fucking wrecked. Any of you guys out there watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, you know how OP Mirror Force is on the fucking anime. Oh my goodness, so it can still do some work IRL. You do have to run Mirror Force with a ton of traps. He's using Dynamiscus basically to just get traps in the graveyard first because he wants his Paleos to be able to get on the field because he doesn't have any monsters. It does make sense to kind of do it this way. Also, you can use Lost Wind on your own Paleo monsters, if I'm not mistaken. His opponent does summon another Colossus. Unfortunately, that just lets him set his Lost Wind, which he will activate to get the Dynamiscus on field. I am a huge believer in Lost Wind. I don't mean, by the time that you guys see this video, I'll probably have already made the video, but I'm probably going to make a full-on discussion about Lost Wind. I think that card is so fucking amazing. I think it's really one of the like top 3 most underrated cards in the entire like game right now / format. You can see right now, Thunder Dragon player is really, because he keeps, summoning from his extra deck, and because his opponent keeps activating trap cards, he's really not getting anywhere, and Colossus is doing next to nothing in this matchup. Now, this is something I did not expect. Granted, he has, 5 monsters on board. I had never seen an offensive explosion like this from Paleo, which was just kind of crazy. I was not used to seeing stuff like this. So, he's going to obviously summon that Swap Frog, goes into Boros Dragon. That's expected here. You think Cappy should be able to go Boros Dragon plus Totally Awesome, close out the game. His opponent doesn't even have 8,000 because he used Instant Fusion maybe at some point. I'm not exactly sure. Or if he just took an attack, but he's going to make Boros Dragon and Borolo Dragon in the same turn, in addition to making a Totally Awesome. How was he at, how was he at 7,000? Did he play Instant Fusion, or did he take like an attack from Swap Frog? I'm pretty sure Swap Frog is like 1,000 attack, right? Can I look? Oh man, I can't click on the materials. Anyways, that was an offensive explosion that I just did not expect at all. I'm used to seeing, Paleo get lucky and make one of these dudes, but not 2 of these dudes in the same turn, and then make this dude on top of that. Yeah, that was pretty damn OP. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed that short duel. If you did, get a video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. You know what? I'm going to show the deck because I'm envisioning someone saying, Cap, why didn't you show the deck? I want to build it. All right, so this is what the deck looks like on paper. Very interesting to see Reckless Greed be played in Paleo Frogs. I mean, I guess it does kind of make sense because it is a trap card, so when you're activating it, you can get one of your Paleozoic monsters back from the graveyard. It also should put you quicker or closer to Swap Frog, get you your Swap Frog a little quicker. And if you draw multiple copies of Reckless Greed, then it should be pretty good because you also have another kind of draw extender in the Pot of Desires being the only spell card in the entire deck. So it does kind of make sense when you think about getting to your your frog monsters as quick as possible. And honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels don't really last long enough for you to see major ramifications of even like Pot of Desires. There's not going to be a time where you're like, damn man, if I hadn't activated that Pot of Desires, I wouldn't have decked out out. Same thing goes with Reckless Greed. By the time that you get around to that second turn of the skip draw, like, you should have already won the game by then, established a board, or, you know, basically just grinded your opponent out because they can't deal with all the trap cards, as we saw in the duel versus like the Thunder Dragon player. I don't know about Trap Trick. It seems okay in theory, but it just seems kind of like a filler trap. I mean, I get it. It can be any of your normal traps, so you can use it to, you know, put Lost Win on the field, or a Reckless Greed, or an Impermanence, or a Mirror Force. So I guess it kind of makes sense, because at the same time, it is activating a trap, so it gets the Paleos back from the graveyard. And cards like, you know what, maybe it does make sense, because then I guess it allows you to play less copies of certain cards like the Mirror Force, where you see a lot of these trap cards are basically being played at 2. You know, these 3 are all basically at 2. So I guess that does actually kind of make sense. But this is what the deck looks like on paper, and I imagine, I guess the last thing is Topologic Bomber Dragon, probably in here to, I guess, create little like soft locks, to where if your opponent is going to summon a monster, you'd probably try to, you know, activate a Paleo and summon it to one of the Topologic Topologic Bomber Dragon's link point to try to nuke their field.